In the last video, I showed you the proof master. In the proof master, we had 19 blocks of information. You can see those here. So in this video, I'm going to walk through the PROOF-Alternative1. Okay, there's a difference in the representation of how this master and this alternative one were represented. But you can see here in this alternative, it has exactly the same number of information blocks, 19. This is the proof master, 19. This is the alternative one. So what's the difference between the two? So in the master, if you look at the network view, and if you open up this network, there's only one hypercube in this network. What I did in this representation is I took and put as many hypercubes as I possibly could into this first network. So, as you can see, even though I moved all of these hypercubes into one network, the information, the blocks of information, have not changed at all. So again, here's the master blocks of information. So in addition, the disclosures have not changed. So there is a flaw in this proof master, I see 20 disclosures. In this proof alternative one, I still see 20 disclosures, but many of these are not being recognized. The reason they're not being recognized is because the rules, I changed when I represented these so that's not true. So I was going to say it relates to the hypercube, but they all have hypercubes in them. So I'm not actually sure why. This is a bug in the software, because every one of these should have been discovered, but this is unrecognized. So I'm not sure why that is, but it's basically a bug in the software. So, but the information blocks are the same. So if you go into this component view, you see that balance sheet has a balance sheet hypercube. The balance sheet network has a cash flow hypercube. The balance sheet network has a comprehensive income hypercube. So you can see that more clearly here. So why is it that I couldn't put these within this hypercube? The reason is that if I did that, I would start having problems with the representation, because you can see that here I use the same name, hypercube, comprehensive income statement hypercube, comprehensive income statement hypercube, and if I would have put this in this network, it would have caused the software to be confused, because I mean the purpose of the network is to avoid this kind of a conflict where you have a hypercube, you have a structure that's constructed, and the stuff that's in this structure is different than the stuff that's in this structure. And to keep the application from messing up, you separate the structure, the hypercube structures, in a network. Okay, and that's fine. So here's a third use of this exact same hypercube name. This problem could have also been solved by basically creating different hypercube names. But the point is, it is subjective as to where hypercubes are placed, in what network they're placed. In this report, this proof alternative one, I chose to place them all in this balance sheet. Now it's obviously not the right term, but so here in this, I chose to put one hypercube per network. Okay, these are perfectly legal. This is perfectly legal in XBRL, and this is perfectly legal. So, but there are ramifications and consequences for allowing this. Software has to be smarter because it has to be able to separate these hypercubes correctly, and a lot of applications cannot handle multiple hypercubes in one network. But anyway, that's the point I want to make. And again, the information is exactly the same. That is working correctly in this application. The block discovery is not working correctly, but the the disclosure identification. So basically, if you know a block, this is a block, you can see the name of the block. And the disclosure tells you what the information block contains. So I'm going to leave it there. I'm already over my time, so I'm going to stop this